Hello, Subversive. This is George Snyder. This week, Bill has asked me to fill in for him. So I thought we could do some work on the prophets of God. So let's start with a little definition. What's a prophet? A prophet is a person who stands between God and his people. Prophets speak top down, that is, they deliver the message from God to his people, but sometimes bottom up, they take the people's concerns up to God. Prophets, though, are specifically called by God. What we're going to look at over this week is the calls of 5 prophets, and we're going to compare them through 4 perspectives: setting in time, setting in place, the assignment God gives to the prophet, and the prophet's response, followed by several takeaways. So let's jump into the text. And we're going to begin with the prophet Moses. We can figure out the date that it's 1446 BC. We'll learn that Moses is 80 years old. But what is important is that the 400-year relocation to Egypt that God had told Abraham about is over for God's people, and God is going to send Moses to lead them out to the promised land. That 400 years ago, 67 people had traveled to Egypt with Jacob to live as shepherds during a famine. During that time, they have become 2+ million people, but they're now slaves, and they've been crying to God, and God has heard them. What about the setting in place? It's at the mountain of God. Sometimes the mountain of God is called Horeb, sometimes it's called Sinai. But what Moses sees is a flaming angel in a bush. Now I'm going to propose this must be one of those burning seraphs that Isaiah sees around the throne of God. We'll be talking about those tomorrow. But although Moses sees the angel, it's God himself who speaks, initially declaring to Moses that his space is holy ground and that Moses needs to act accordingly. From this, it appears that when God travels, he takes his holiness with him. Now, what assignment does God give to Moses? Simply, God tells Moses to go to Pharaoh, who's the king of Egypt. The Pharaoh is to release the Israelites so that they all may go back home. God says, I have heard my people's cry. Therefore, I, their God, have come down to deliver them from Egypt, to take them to the land I promised to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then he says to Moses, now you go do it. This is a great example of that divine and human cooperation that is necessary to achieve God's plan. So what does Moses say in response? Basically, he disagrees 4 times, saying, I'm not qualified to do this, God. First time, Moses asked, who am I to go to Pharaoh? God responds, I will be with you. You don't have any concerns. Second time, Moses states, the people will ask, who sent you? What am I supposed to say? God responds, tell them that I am Yahweh. That's my name. I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. I am sending you to my people to deliver them from Egypt. Thirdly, Moses considers, the people will not believe me. How am I supposed to convince them that I am from you? God responds, I will provide 3 proofs to demonstrate that you are from me. First of all, the stick that you hold will become a snake, and then back to a stick again. Secondly, your hand, you stick your hand inside your coat and pull it out, it's leprous. Put it back in and it returns to normal. And thirdly, as we all know, Moses has the ability to turn Nile water into blood. Finally, Moses denies, I do not know what to say to convince Pharaoh. God responds, don't worry, I will provide the words that you are to speak, and I will teach you what to do. And with that, Moses heads to Egypt. Now, how about some takeaways from this call of Moses? First of all, we can note that to question God's plan or his actions is a trait that God desires in whom he calls. Because Moses questioned, that's later on, Moses will disagree with God's plan to judge his people, and then he'll convince God to pardon them. Second, if I believed that God was calling me to the ministry, I would question that call. And I would seek counsel from several who have been down that road before I'd simply say yes. Thirdly, if I were chosen to speak for God, I would be extra cautious to ensure that my words line up with God's words. Tomorrow, on we go to Isaiah.